Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, competitive betting menus, and the best customer service. Now you can download, fund, and bet like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com for details.
Attention Baker shoppers. Did you know there's a world of innovative services and patient care right in store? It's where an award-winning pharmacy and nationally recognized care come together. Connect with one of our licensed pharmacists today at your local Baker's and experience the care you and your family deserve. Baker's, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Welcome to the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast with your host, Tyler Black, brought to you by Black Diamond Softball and Fitness, presented by the Tel Valhalla Project, where heroes live forever.
I think it is, and I think the reason why it is nowadays is because when COVID hit and the coaches couldn't get in front of people and our other showcases and events and just whatever you want to call it, the college coaches couldn't get out and see the players that they wanted to see. I think it was like, okay, well, we've got to be able to get this out there, and I got to show these college coaches that I'm still working. Well, that was good. It was doing what it was supposed to do. And now we have these players that see that so-and-so is putting their stuff on Twitter, so I've got to put my stuff on Twitter. So there's a lot of it's muddy in the waters pretty much, because you'll have 13, 14-year-old girls on there just putting it out there, and they're tagging these coaches, not really knowing. They don't have any guidance, so they don't really know what they're doing. It's just really going out there and throwing a pebble in a lake, because unless you just somehow wow somebody, I mean, you're a unicorn. It's really not doing what you think it's doing. But Twitter is the leading as far as social media is concerned when it comes to that, because that's what most coaches are onto. Most coaches aren't on Instagram and Snapchat and those things looking for recruits or looking for somebody. I think Twitter, it's sort of the forum for everybody, if you will.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, so the Twitter side of it too is I've seen it, I look at things differently. Coaching 18s, I've been here a couple of years, and try to get your footprint in that age division. And it's been so the 22s had it miserably because they had the COVID. Right. You're dealing with the portal stuff. You've got kids going places that or hardly have been on an unofficial visit, because the campuses weren't open. But you see kids recruiting or verbaling somewhere on Twitter, committing. They don't say the percentage that they got, but they say they've committed there. And then that kid thinks that they're better than that kid, and that parent thinks that, oh, she's better. She plays for so-and-so, so It depends on logistics and a lot of things, but the social media side of it, I think, I personally think that it's good and bad. And it's hard to it's hard to set yourself apart, I think, just using it. But I do think it's important to use, because I think obviously college coaches are watching it.
Yeah. I think too, you take the parents, and for all of us, it's like that fear of missing out. It's like, right. What's Susie doing? I got to make sure my daughter's doing the same or doing something better. And it's like, we can't think for ourselves anymore. And you really can't, be that outlier, because you could end up, putting yourself in a corner and messing up. So you kind of got to go with the flow on some things. And it's difficult to know what flow to go with. And it's difficult for these parents to know what's right and what's wrong. They have this fear of, they think they can't talk to a college coach. You can reach out to a college coach at any time. Call them, call his office. If you go to campus, just because you're having a conversation with one of these coaches doesn't mean they're actively recruiting your daughter and they're doing something, that the NCAA is going to come down on them. They'll let you know. They don't want to get in trouble either. So it's like this whole fear. It's like this like entity that's out there. It's like they're separate from us, but they're really not. And when you talk to them, they're humans too. And I think that's the biggest thing that parents miss out on, is these colleges, they're humans. and we're scaring our kids to be afraid of them for whatever reason, or be shy around them. And that's the worst thing you can do. They want to see your personality.
Yeah. And I also think that, I mean, a big deal that I've seen is, and I don't have any kids, and just we want the best for every kid that we coach, but I'll say that parents ask coaches to give them an honest opinion on their kids. Now, some parents take that differently than others. Some parents take that as, okay, well, he's comparing my kid to. I'm comparing your kid to not anyone. I'm comparing him to what I'm evaluating her, what I'm seeing one-on-one right here, instead of a lot of times in turn what happens is those parents will I guess twist I don't know what word I'm looking for, but will somehow make it about another player on our same team,
Right.
which I won't go I'm so it's parents that, what I would say is, if parents, I think it's about communication with your coach, whoever coach that is, or whoever is your communication tool for your kid. I think it's important to get honest communication and honest feedback, but as important to be able to take that, and use it positively, because it don't necessarily mean that, or it doesn't mean that, I mean, man, from 14s to 18s, it's a I'm glad the rule changed in the regard of from the 14s to 18s, because at least they can evaluate, the players more than they could. They could just project at the young age.
Exactly. I think that we're heading in the right direction with that. We're putting the way the model is now. I think there's a lot of pressure on these 14s and 15-year-olds that don't really need that pressure just yet, because they're coming into it. And we've kind of relaxed it a little bit as far as recruiting, so the contact can be there. But it gives these juniors and seniors peace of mind if they can go ahead and get the commitments and stuff out of the way. I see both angles. I see both sides of it. But before, man, it was like a free for all, and it just
Cool.
eighth graders, ninth graders that are
Oh
committed.
yeah.
Like, what in the world? I mean, there's so
Oh
much
yeah.
growth that's going to be there. So with you coaching high school ball, I mean, you saw it
Oh yeah.
before we got to this point where we're at now with the recruiting. I mean, how do you handle that as a high school coach, where you've got girls that only play that season, that 3 months, and then you've got girls that are committing 9, 10 months out of the year that are signed to go play college? Well, how do you, as a coach, how do you play both sides of that?
Well, I was pretty lucky in high school ball, because those kids that you just explained, that uh, the kids where I coached at Pickens were volleyball kids. And I mean, we were, it was, if I didn't let them go play in a club volleyball tournament during the high school softball season, then our softball team just wouldn't go to that tournament, just because I didn't have enough.
Yeah.
So for me, I was kind of but I mean, I supported the heck out of it, because we have an excellent program and still do. I mean, they're going to, as far as volleyball, but again, though, I still had those 2 or 3 kids that played year-round softball, went on to play college ball. And I mean, I think at the high school level, I think you've got to be able to, I mean, I think you've got a small percentage out there to fellowship, including JV players sometimes and varsity players. I think you've got to somehow bind the two together the best you can, to have the very best practices you can, because that's a dynamic that's ever changing, really.
Yeah. You'll have it's that side where the parents can feel it too. It's like, okay, well, these girls play all the time. They're in a clique. These girls only play so often because they got other sports going on, or they got other groups, or they're part of orchestra or band or something like that. So you
Yeah.
have this division that you have to deal with. And I'm sure with every sport you'll have that. And all throughout the country, I think you have that. So it's for you guys that are able to do that on a high school level. I mean, we're dealing with hormones and emotions and just different levels of different things. And you have the parent element. My kid's not getting playing time. She's the starting third baseman for this on our travel ball team. And why isn't she playing in that position? It's like they don't understand there's a different makeup. And I was going to get your opinion on this. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong. I don't really, I could see it either way. There was a discussion not too long ago. I think I posted it just on Facebook to one of the forums, and I left it open so no one can really tell what side of the fence I was on with it. But I mean, it was just that thing blew up, and so I'm going to ask you: when you were coaching high school, were your practices open or closed to parents, or did it kind of just figure itself out, and you didn't have to say one way or the other?
Well, I would open my practices. I believe that early in the high school year that it's important for the whatever, however, you got to give them three days tryouts for the high school league rules, and in South Carolina anyway, or that's how it was. I'm not a head coach anymore. I did it for 10 or 11 years, and but what I'll tell you is that I feel like that it's important. That's a tough one. It's a tough one because, I think that you got to have extended practices early during the tryout portion. You got to find out who you're going to have on JV, who on varsity, because there's always typically two or three kids. Or there was it. We were a 4A school, so two or three kids that were on the fence of JV varsity, and
Right.
trying to make the best decision with them or maximize their game, let them do both or whatever. I think it's important. Like, we had long practices early, so there's not a whole heck of a lot of parents that we're going to hang out for 2.5 hours, but
Right.
they do start trickling in towards the end of practice. And I think, as a high school coach at that age, I think that, you know, you I think once you kind of set what you don't want in high school ball, or I always used to get mad at my kids that would and it would happen every year. They'd be on deck and they would, kind of turn around and engage somebody just back there, just saying anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you'll never. That made me think the kid probably wasn't as engaged as we wanted in the game, But I just think that if a parent sees that you're going to give their kid a fair shake, that you're going to have quality practices and actually try to be a better team and get your kid better. Because the high school level, I think, lost some of that. I think some kids just go out there and do the same. I hear a lot from travel ball players that, they're not getting a whole heck of a lot out of a lot of high school practices. They're doing the same thing. It's repetitive, but I
Mhm.
know in our state we've got some real quality programs, people that
Yeah.
run really, really good practices. I know that.
Yeah. We where my daughters where they go at, I mean, they go to Conway High School, and it's a legit program. I mean, they're 5A, and you got to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some monsters around in 5A.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it boils down to, if mom and daddy aren't happy, or they don't feel, you know, they're happy with the situation, what's going on nowadays, man, everybody's going to speak up. Nobody's going to hold their tongue. So we have to be accountable as coaches, and we have to be available. So they have to see, we got to give them that warm and fuzzy of, hey, she's taken care of and she's getting better. I'm not just teaching her softball, different drills and stuff. I'm also teaching her life lessons. We're having, discussions about different things to kind of, nurture them down the road that they're getting from an outside source, not necessarily family or in school. So it's a different source of information and influence. And the parents need to know that they have that, and it's not just something that they're sending their kid off to, and they don't have any idea what's going on. It ain't like it when you were growing up, to where we just went
No,
to
it's not.
practice.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think that's the way it is, and I like that. I don't want the practice to be open to where, like you were saying, the families or the moms or the daddies or whatever, they're constantly talking or butting in or trying to say something or correct something or whatever. It needs to be full engagement for me, or it's just, I can just tell you're not engaged. And like you were saying, we gotta meet in the middle somewhere. Like, and they have to
Agreed.
trust you to be able to meet in the middle. If they don't trust you, they're not meeting you in the middle.
I
So
mean, it's not just high school ball; it's on the travel level
yeah.
too. I mean, I've seen it at the biggest tournaments you could possibly go to where, man, when you're playing 18s, uh, the days of of course, I don't. It differs to me. For my kids, I don't. If you're in like the losers bracket of a tournament somewhere, and it's like last year we played 8 or 9 games. Or no, sorry, we played 5 games one day in the losers bracket in Oklahoma. And like, if parents want to bring Gatorades and stuff, but
Mhm.
this between innings and the coddling and the dugouts and stuff like that just does not work on. That's not.
Yeah.
what we're trying to do for sure. But it's out there at every level.
And see, parents, they don't understand that. Hey, like, you're not going to do that. It doesn't matter if they go to JUCO, D3, D2. You're not going to
Correct.
walk up to that dugout. So
That's a fact.
you're trying to set that tone now. I mean, that's the way it is.
Right.
And I know at a certain level of ball that we start to have this transition of there's rec ball, and then there's sort of like traveling rec, and then there's that hey, this team is pretty good, they go to the big time tournaments, and then there's that elite level where there's select few tournaments throughout the year that the best of the best, we try to get the best of the best. I mean, depending on schedules and stuff, but you have this stuff. I mean, there's different tiers and different levels to this stuff. I mean, when you got in this thing, did you think it would be like this? There'd be separation, but there would be softball for everyone to enjoy?
Well, see, for my team, I call my team a hybrid because I think I'm one of the only teams in the country that will put when I do our schedule at the beginning of the year, I'll put the PGF logo and the Alliance logo on there, and I don't think they don't know what to think, but I like them both because I think both of them have real good teams. But oh heck yeah, there's a level for everywhere, and I mean there's a level beyond travel ball for everyone too. And I think but the way it's grown in terms of, and that's the thing, you said like 5 years ago you really could go to 3 or 4 tournaments. We'd play 5 in the summer. Let's say we play 5. Well, you knew 3 of them, at least maybe 4, we're going to have those same group of whatever 50 or 75 really good teams. Well, that's changed now, because now if you go look at the weekends and the options, as far as, man, it's every single weekend is there's some really good events with good teams. It's kind of split some of the good teams up,
right?
Which I don't like. I would rather I wish they could work something out to where they could either do it on separate weekends, which I think at 8 teams you play, about 5 tournaments and don't overdo it, but because you just can't go to everything. But so we try to split it up a little bit, like, I'd love to go. I mean, I want to go where the very best teams are, but man, when you start looking at some of those tournaments, every one of the tournaments, it's just that the list has doubled.
Yeah.
It used to be you could go to Colorado and California and maybe one more wherever it was, and it was good. And now there's some good ones. There's some really good ones. Real good ones.
It's tough for you guys to have your players there and meet their schedules, because I mean, it's a murderer's row in the summer months. I mean, there's 6 or 8 weeks, I guess. And that, coincides with the recruiting schedule as of right now. I think that's coming. We'll get into that topic here in a little bit about the recruiting. But, I mean, you guys at that level that you're playing at, I mean, we're talking the top tier, the top of the, up there. You guys, it's high-level tournament ball, a day or two of travel, maybe a day of downtime, maybe if you can fit it in. Then you got to fix some stuff, because every game you're learning, you're fixing something. We got to shore this up, or we're going to try this. This isn't working for whatever reason right now. So it is crunch time, and you have the pressure on the coaches. Imagine the pressure on those kids, because those kids at that age, they know how expensive this is for their mom and daddy, and they've got a heart, and they don't want to let them down. So, tell me about traveling and trying to weigh all that stuff in and take care of you and your own stuff that you've got going on.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, it's so my assistant coach lives in Phoenix, and what we'll do and what we've done since 2019 or probably 18 really, is wherever we play, we'll meet the day before, whenever the tournament starts. A lot of times, if it's in the, just depends, if we start on Wednesday, we'll meet on Tuesday, and we'll just start a day before, and we'll always practice, at the venue we're playing, wherever we find a field or something. So, because we have kids from 9 or 10 different states. But the thing is, it's what I tell parents, these kids commit, and the parents will have the conversations like, well, maybe we can ease back. And I think they misconstrue that, because I don't think college coaches want kids, once they get them committed, to quit playing softball. Now,
absolutely.
Now, is the element of a college coach maybe a mid-major or lower, maybe potentially not want them to play that schedule, because really in reality, they don't maybe not want them to get seen by another school, which if I was that coach, I'd be doing the same thing. But what I'm getting at is, I think that it's, I think you got to play. I like playing in the tournaments, but I think you also this is probably better for committed kids. I don't know, but I don't like playing in the showcase stuff. And I didn't when I had uncommitted kids. I wanted to play I want the tournaments with the games with the longest time limit.
Mm-hmm.
That includes pool games, because for pool games for me, I don't know, but I've heard a bunch of travel coaches over the years, talk about, well, it's pool, we'll let her pick. Well, I don't. We play to win every single game. Now, I might bat 11 or 12 instead of batting 9 in the bracket, but we're playing it to win it.
Yeah.
But we are getting the kids reps or whatever. We do that more but I want to play for a championship, whether it's single elimination the last day or whatever it is.
Right.
I want the kids to be able to have a chance. Now, that said, I still played in a showcase this fall in Clearwater, and it was probably one of the better tournaments we played in all year. It was an awesome tournament. So I think you can make that happen. The tournament directors, to me, could have better results if they extended the game times, but that would probably cut down on number of teams. That's why I'm not a tournament director, but I'm just from a coach's perspective. I want to play more innings and more hours.
Yeah. And I think
there's not enough of any of it, and the game changer stats are real. The parents look at them. People can gripe or whatever you want to do about them, but at the end of the day, like the numbers are not going to lie. And I just think if you can maximize your innings, then you can start talking to a pitcher's parent and say, look, here's the pitches she thrown. You're looking at innings pitched. You need to look at total number of pitches she threw as opposed to whoever our 2, 3, whatever it was, because they like to say she didn't get her opportunity or the coach didn't believe in her. And a lot of things go into that.
Right. There's that. Again, we get back to that human element.
Yeah.
Coaching. You're trying to do the best you can by all those girls. And then you have the grand scheme of things that you're trying to do the best for the team and the future of what you're building. And it's tough to weigh it all. There's it's a lot of gray area. It's not black and white. It's not, there's no decisions like that once you get to that level. And we were talking about showcases a little bit, and you brought it up.
Yep.
Showcases have changed a little bit over the years. I think the name showcase, if I could say, is watered down, just using that name. And I think just like if there's college coaches that are going to be there, it's like, well, we're going to a showcase, so we only play showcase. I think parents, the ones that don't have the right information or think that a showcase is a showcase and they're all the same. Go into a little bit about how showcases have changed from where they used to be and where they're at now, and what can we do to change sort of the atmosphere, if you will, of showcase events.
Well, I think to me, I can tell you as far as like number of teams that they get, if anything, it's grown. And so I want it to be known. I think that there's a lot of really, really good tournament directors out there. And I think they all do a great job, good events, like they get really good college coaches. But I think the ones that you see that are doing well and keep getting returning teams are like these ones that have gone, they have made it to where they have a single elimination. And whether it's they have it in a gold, they have it in a silver and whatever, but they let the kids play for a championship. And to me, I think that you probably get the very max effort out of the kids. The problem, I think, a little bit is a lot of the whatever they say top tier. I wouldn't say top tier teams. I really wouldn't. I would say what tournament directors deem top organizations. We'll say that. And I think it's important with relationships and stuff, because you can go to these great showcases, but you might wind up 15, 20 miles down the road. And that's when these parents get antsy, is when they go to these tournaments. Yeah, they're for the right organization, but they might see 2 college coaches the entire weekend, and whether it's whether it's they shouldn't, I don't know. I just tell you it happens. And that's a big reason that you've got a lot of, in my opinion, player turnover in travel balls, because parents are upset at that level. They see other kids and coaches, and it goes back to social media, and they say, well, so and so, blah blah. They hear from their friends, man, who was there and all this, and so I think it's important. But I'll say this too, like there's a reason that there's that level in those teams too, is because somebody somewhere thinks probably they have more quality athletes as a whole.
Yeah.
And they know the coach or whoever, but I think it's important that no matter what level, I think individually speaking, if you have a coach that you trust, you can say, look, do you think that I think you need direction from the coach, because sometimes somebody's just saying, well, we're just going to do showcase. They get the showcase word gets thrown around very loosely.
Right.
I mean, you can be at the quote unquote great park, or where all the coaches are at that facility, and crap, man, you might only see. I mean, most of our team was committed, but we didn't see hardly. I mean, many coaches watching us. Just pretty much our kids who were committed, and I think it probably hurt. We had a 24 on our team this year that wasn't committed, that played up, who become a way better softball player, but she might have missed out on a few college looks here and there because of it, because she was playing with a team full of committed kids.
Yeah, and they look at it and go, okay, well, I can go watch this.
I don't even have profile sheets out there,
Yeah, and that's another point too. There's so many teams and so many games at a lot of these showcase events that the coaches they can't commit to every single day of the tournament, and they have girls that have reached out to them and said, hey, this is my schedule, and they may be over there for just an inning and may not even be able to see that girl, because they're out there, they're working. They're not going out there just enjoying a softball game. They're actually they're working. And so I think I'm on it with you as far as let's showcase some stuff, let's play some games, but then let's buckle down and let these girls play for something, because the spirit of the game is what these college coaches are looking for. They want to see the spirit in this athlete and see if that's that hard charger that I want to bring on.
And in a lot of pressure cooker situations, it gets them in pressure cooker situations. I think that it gives them more opportunities to be in uncomfortable situations. And I think that, and plus, if you can win the thing, I mean, I think it's good all the way around. But I just like for them to compete. Like, the 80-minute, and I know they're out there, but the 80-minute drop dead, I'm trying my very best to steer clear of them.
Yeah. Because it brings something artificial to the competition, I think. I know we've got to have time limits on different things, but man, you want the girls to get kind of lathered up a little bit. You want to get them into the game. And if that drop dead, it's just like, hey, I got cheated out of something here. Like, we were rolling as a team. The momentum was swinging. It was going back and forth. These girls are into it. We want to see, this girl, she's thrown 4 innings of no hit ball, and she's in the middle of the 5th. Can she, get through this? She knows, if you put just an inning count on it and say, okay, we're going to play 5 innings or 6 innings or whatever. How is she going to change, knowing that in her mind, I'm close to a no right here?
You're right.
It's all the dynamic. When we start changing the competition, we start changing the game, we start changing the players in it. And I hate
100%. And that's the exact reason why you hear about 90% of folks out there associated with travel softball, especially, is, well, it don't matter. Pool games don't mean anything. Well, I promise, if anybody ever plays for us, they'll never hear pool games don't matter, because man, I think you've got to make those kids compete, because if you don't, especially the older ones, I'm telling you, you'll lose them. In the dugout, and they'll just check completely out and talk about anything you can possibly imagine them talking about, and just pretend you can't hear, because you've got to keep them engaged.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of things that are controllable, in my opinion, on that. And I think one of them is, I think people in your dugout need to know how many outs there are. You'd be amazed that if you just stop right in the middle of a game and ask kids how many outs, what the situation is, they're not going to be able to tell you.
Right.
And if you just make them miserable by just asking them over and over just multiple times a game, they're going to find, like our kids will wind up and tell you every single time, because if they don't, I'm just going to keep asking them.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason you shouldn't know that.
That's an element to the game that girls, when they're on the bench, when you carry this heavy roster, and girls are going to be on the bench a little bit because you got to carry a heavy roster. You don't know what the girls got going on in their life. So you may not have her a weekend, or you may not have her a tournament, whatever. They find some time sitting on the bench. It doesn't matter if you're the stud or the young one or whatever. These girls engaged in the game, they learn from watching that situation. Say, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm on the bench. I'm not in. I'm not hitting. Whatever. We got less than 2 outs. A runner on third. This girl this is her pitches that she likes to do. What am I doing as a hitter in this situation? And then flip side, if I'm playing second here, am I cheating one way or the other because I know what this girl likes to do, or this is the play we've got to make?
Yep.
So it's all live right in front of you. And then when the ball's hit, okay, if it's the center fielder or the right fielder, it's their time to make a play. It's like, what am I doing in this situation if that's me? Or if I'm pitching, if I'm a pitcher, and then that's my girl out there. I'm trying to figure out, what is she thinking? What am I thinking on this pitch? I think the element that a lot of coaches don't go into it because they're so worried about getting this win in this game. They're not turning around and saying, hey, what are we doing, girls? Are we up against the fence in the dugout? Are we learning this? What would you do in this situation? Hey, give me your pitch sequence right here. What would you do? And
yeah. And I think
that help them grow.
That's a big deal. Oh, it's a big deal. And I think what you find is the kids that are and this is just the facts. I think that the kids that are engaged and are asking questions or whatever know the situation. They don't find themselves on the bench too long, because I mean, odds are that's who you want playing. But I've always been one in 12s, 14s, even 16s. We would carry like 12 or 13. I would carry the very few possible that I could. Well, when you get to 18s, you can't, because especially if you got kids from all over the place, because a lot of them high school season goes into like state championship weekend, June 9th and 10th.
Right.
Like that weekend. And so you really, if you're going to play 5 tournaments, you've got to really find a 3-day tournament the 17th weekend, and then go normal procedure on pretty much everybody else is doing. But what I found is in 18s, graduations, vacations, senior trips, anything. I mean, I've been told more stuff in the 18s. In 2 years now, and don't get me wrong, I've had some stud players and awesome families. Like, I love my families. I've had excellent families, but I've heard, I mean, anything you can imagine almost hearing, that and I'm not saying it wasn't true. I'm sure it was true, but
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I'm telling you, I've had a few kids here and there that I know for a fact in 14s or 16s, if somebody, or 14s especially, if they when they were being recruited, if somebody would have asked them to go to a prom, they're playing softball.
Yeah.
I'm just telling. But in 18s, I'm telling you this, in my percentages, I'll get a lot more, hey, I got to go to a prom. I mean, what do you say to that other than okay? I mean, I don't ever question a kid or act mad at them. But, well, I'm not going to say I don't act mad at them, but I will express, I'll question them a little bit. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if they're calling to tell you that, that's probably what they want to do.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it goes back to that whole human element. You as a coach have got to have relationships with all these girls, and this year you have a pretty stout roster going into the spring and the summer. Talk to me a little bit about the roster you're carrying this year and kind of the uniqueness of it that you have. I mean, I was looking at your roster just a little bit ago. You've
Yeah,
got some studs, brother.
well, we're excited about it. I mean, I joined Michael Danley, his Mojo team or his Mojo team that he's had the core of the group for a long time, and they've done a lot of winning, but it's a really good group. It is a really good group of kids. We have a couple left-handed pitchers, one in Ashtyn Danley, who is a Florida State commit. I think she was ranked 2 in the 23 class, but she can do it all. I mean, she hits, she can play center field, she could play first base, she could play any position in the outfield, and she can hit, and then she throws mid to upper 60s. But she's always been, she's one of the better players in the country in any age division and has been for a long time. Mm-hmm. We got Audrey Lowry, who's another lefty. She's a 24. She's going to Oklahoma. She's ranked high, I think 3rd, but just a pitcher who's been at this level and mixes speeds and just does not walk people. And she commands her pitches. She understands hitting probably beyond her years. She wants to learn. And I think it shows. But man, yeah, we've got a roster, a talented roster for sure.
It's you get to a certain point with these ladies, and they can run their practices. They can run all the drills, and they've been in the game quite a bit, and they're all about to take this next level. Whether it's going to play in Power 5, or it's going to play mid major, if it's D2, D3, they've been in the game quite a bit, and they're from all over the country. Like you were saying, you got what you said, 9 different states. So somehow, some way, you as a coach, and Coach Danley as well, you've got to get these girls to jail in a short amount of time, and it puts a lot of pressure on these girls. What's some of the things that you've done and you've learned from these girls of how go ahead and get this thing, jailed as quick as we can, and then the relationships you guys build in such a quick time frame because you guys are all in it?
Well, with the older ones, what I've learned is, pregame is, you learn, or I learned really, really quick that you don't like the music that they listen to, but just let them play it and don't even, just be like, I mean, it says words that I can't even say, and I say cuss words, but I think making them, I think for me, I think it is, I just want my kids to leave the tournament to know that Ramsey and I have, no matter what, every single time they came up, we wanted them to get a hit like that. We want them to succeed as much as, okay, maybe not as much as their parents, but man, we want it for them, and we truly do. And if they know that, I think, and they trust you, I think, winning is big, is huge, because that's what it's will be preached to them, I think, on the next level. I think, but not liking to lose, I think, is as important or more important. And I think, like, if you look at like Coach Gasso at Oklahoma, they don't lose, but if they do, like, go to social media and just type in Oklahoma softball and watch the people that talk about them losing.
Yeah,
because they just don't lose. And she has the mindset and instilled in her kids, well, just like a lot of these teams do. I mean, there's staples at the front of the college softball polls every year: Florida State, Florida, Oklahoma, like all of UCLA, all the same teams. If you go look this year, they're there again. Oklahoma State, it's the same people, and they've created a winning culture. I mean, they can call it whatever culture they want to call it, but it's a winning culture, and the kids have bought in to winning. And I think that you've got to instill, or I'm trying to instill it in my kids, because you've got 15 kids going. Like, I had 15 22s go to play college softball just off this last team, and man, I can go ahead and tell you all 15 are not happy. Now, I think double figures of them are, and I think there's another couple that can become happy, but man, it's a long season. It's a long grind. Like, you've got to do your very best and try your very best, and put your best foot forward before you can try to judge how something's going to be.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I mean, these girls, they go through the emotions in these tournaments, the highs and the lows, and it's the same highs and the lows that they're going to have when they get to college, but it seems like it's under a microscope because you have these coaches, the college, there's so much pressure. And I think the pressure comes from the popularity of the sport. It seems like there's more eyes on them. This new roster that you have this year, this new makeup of the team, I know there's a lot of the core that's left. Is there this sense of pressure because they are one of the teams throughout the country that don't practice as much? They come from different backgrounds, different states, don't get together very much. They have this sense of, hey, we're under a little bit of a microscope, because we're wearing that Mojo name.
Yeah.
We have a lot that are committed. I mean, you put it out there, you want to celebrate them. Hey, they've committed, and they teams know, coaches know, hey, that girl's committed here, this girl's committed there. Can you feel that sense of pressure, and do you have that same pressure as well?
Well, I feel it if we lose. I can tell you that. Like, I feel it if we lose because I can tell you that it's, for me personally, it's changed over the years when you lose because back in the day when I lost and went and shook hands, it was just the team we just shook hands. Well, now it's a little more if you lose. I mean, and you tell the kids that, like, they're jacked up. They outplayed you. They outworked you. They're ready to play more, and you tell them whatever it was. But I don't think that it's, to me, I don't think that they're pressured because sometimes I kind of wish they would be more pressured. But I think that I just try to tell them, look, pretend whoever your college you're committed to. And a lot of times in the summer, it'll be the case. They'll have people, the coaches come watch their committed kids.
Right.
And I said, you've absolutely got to play like he or she's sitting right back there watching. And you need to do that when you're warming up. You need to do that the whole entire time. Because why would you stop something that got you committed to them? Why don't like that fall, their freshman year is going to be the very, very most important time for them on that campus because a lot of kids are already in the program. The college coaches have seen them do it at the collegiate level. So you've got to go in there, in my opinion, after seeing some very quality pitching in the summer, and keep doing whatever it was you were doing to get it to be to where they engaged with you and offered you. And so I think there's a little bit of out there when a kid commits, they back off a little bit. And I don't know what the discussion is that they have with the college coaches in terms of, and I don't ever really get into it with the kid. I've just never really had any of our players come to me ever in my career in coaching say, well, my college coach don't want me to play this weekend. They just don't say that. They just don't say that. I mean, like, you may hear that murmured out there, and I know that there's college programs that doesn't want to see their kids, especially pitchers, just absolutely thrown to the wolves and play every weekend. But the college coaches trust they trust the travel coaches if they've committed. I mean, you're not going a college coach. I'm sure you could go get a stud off of somebody they didn't trust, but I would say more times than not, they believe in what you're telling them anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And I think it's important, but sometimes, man, like, they're doing the same thing I'm doing on the travel level. Like, whatever kid's doing the very best for us typically is who we're going to have in there. The kids have got to understand on the college level. I think the biggest problem is a lot of kids have to deal with adversity for the first time.
Right.
A lot of kids have never moved from a position in their life. A lot of kids get mad or parents get mad if you bat them third or fourth and not second, or fifth and not just whatever. And it's just not gonna. There's only just a few that are gonna name their spot. When you go in there. So that whole dynamic there is, I think, tougher on kids. The separation from, in travel ball tournament, they get in a car with their parents and they go home.
Right.
If you have a bad fall practice, you're going back to your dorm or wherever it is you're living on campus and doing schoolwork or thinking about how bad a practice you had. Yeah. And then calling probably a parent, and that be the reason that you not like it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're going to have a bunch of days you don't like it. I was like, get out of college and then go get a real job. You will have a lot of days you go call your husband or whoever and say, look, I can't stand this place. I mean, I've worked at the same place for 20 years. It's, every day is not, there's going to be some adversity. I can tell you that.
That's the way life is. And I think a lot of times it's the first taste of real life is that freshman year when they're away from mom and daddy for the first time, maybe across town, it could be across country or whatever. And then it hits you. It's real. It was that same feeling for me when I got to Marine Corps boot camp, Paris Island, that first night.
I guarantee you.
It was like busy, busy, busy all day long, so you don't think about it. And then when you lay your head down at night and for the first time and you're away from mom and daddy for the very first time, I'm 18 years old.
You grew up fast.
And it was like, man, I don't have my mom, I don't have my daddy right here. And so these girls, I mean, on the same, ticket. It's first time away is tough on them, and they grow up quick, and that could be that turning element for some of these athletes is that I just can't be away from mom and daddy, and then they're looking to transfer. They're maybe looking to give up the game. Whatever it is. So it's a part of it. We need to talk about the mental side of it with these athletes too. So we need to sort of prepare them so it's not a shock, and they don't want to hear it until it's too late. But I think if we bring it up more and more, it's like this is a 40-year decision, not just a 4-year decision, because you still got to get an education.
Absolutely.
You put a lot of pressure on you, and we all know D1 when you're playing that Power 5 D1, man, softball is life for your career while you're there. So you don't have time to really do anything else. And they've already put so much time and effort and energy into it. Now it picks up. Scott Woodcock told me that he's the assistant coach up there in Maine. D1 school in Maine, and he was on the podcast, and he said, "Man, if these athletes think once they commit that it gets easier, man, it just intensifies. It doubles. But now you're really on. I mean, and now it's time to work." Because the last moment you have to get to the best you're going to be coming into us.
Well, I don't know if people. I mean, I go to work and then I just do softball, and I've been doing it for a long time, and it's not. I really don't have a life outside of it, but it's sad probably at times. But I could also tell you some numbers of where what you're saying is real, because the the mental health side of the thing is huge.
Yeah,
it's huge, and it's a situation that, in my opinion, that coaches have. I mean, a lot of coaches go into uncharted waters with some of these situations they're dealing with of late.
Absolutely,
and so that's a whole different dynamic. Now, I think a lot of the schools do an excellent job with how they handle it, but it's real. It is real. And I mean, it's just not with females, but it's, it's out there. And so I like doing the positive reinforcement, let a kid know, when they do good, but I also don't like to sugarcoat something when they do bad, because if I tell them, hey, it's okay, you do this. And I told our team this in Clearwater. I said, look, if I tell you, hey, it's okay, it's all right. We just kicked it right there and then threw it around, pulled her off the bag, whatever. It's all right. It's not all right, but it's not all right, because I never want you to do that again.
Right.
I don't ever want to see you do it again. And not that she tried to, and she's not going to try to, but I would rather see her throw it and don't pull a person off the bag or whatever the situation is. But and man, I'm telling you, I think if you do it positively, kids respond to it. But the biggest deal with the girls, I mean, are competition amongst their peers. I can tell you that.
I work with athletes that are on the complete other end of the spectrum from the athletes that you work with. Age, skill level, stuff like that. I'm sort of a conduit between that. We've played rec, we've tried out, we did some t-ball, we did some coach pitch stuff. We're really interested in playing travel because we want to play a little bit more, fix the competition, but have a little bit better competition, whatever. We just want to get better at this and that. So that's where I've kind of carved out a little spot in what I do. I'm not the best hitting coach. I'm not the best. What I do is I get a girl ready for that next level coach, and I'll always be that way. I don't want to be anything bigger. But the thing that makes me and you the exact same is you wouldn't have done it as long as you've done it if it didn't do something to your heart when you see a kid smile with celebration or excitement, or they get something right, or they do something they haven't been able to do before, or if just joy just hits them. It does something to you, and it does the exact same thing to me. It's a feeling we cannot describe, but
Yeah.
it's a feeling that you wish everyone can feel, because it's like that light bulb moment. And when I
Yeah.
talk to my athletes, there's no better feeling in the world that we share.
Well, that's one of the deals for me is, honestly, is probably why trying to, because we went through the 18, we took our 22s basically through 18s, and Ramsey and I talked. I mean, we had talks of 14s and 16s, and it wound up that, that it worked out to where we were able to stay in 18s, which is what we were wanting to do, because of.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Kind of being able to actually see the kid's journey come to an end, and for a lot of the 22s, man, it's going to be fun watching college softball for me this year, just because of it's going to be kids that were in our dugouts, or kids that we played, and just people and families that kind of pulling for the kids. But the 18s I like a little bit better than the young age groups, because the young age groups I just coached them for 2 years, and they went to either 18s or 16s or whatever, and I didn't go up with that age group for probably the first 5 or 6 years that I coached, and so I kind of liked going up with them, and being in 18s, because you kind of see the end product of it. Now, as in everything, everything, I could tell you the other side of that, where I would rather be in 14s and 18s, but I think the good outweighs the bad, just because the girls are way more mature. I mean, I think they all have the same goal in mind, but it don't matter the talent level. You've still got to tell them. You have to tell them things a lot of times they don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, with girls, or the girls that I've had, a lot of times that ain't the easiest, because all of a sudden it turns into me not liking them. Well, Coach Fish don't like me. Well, why? Because he said, well, he tells us all that. and it's like, but I got that a lot in high school ball, like early on in my coaching career, to where you tried to correct the kid, not in front of the group or anything, just whatever it might be. And you hear a couple of days later from another one of the players that, well, so-and-so thinks you don't like her.
Right.
And it's like, that was the dynamic between coaching baseball and softball that I probably had to deal with the very most, or had to, try to the same language, just a lot of times not go work in softballs. It wasn't baseball, but I mean, in the older age groups it does, because you're a lot of times trying to get them to engage more.
Right. It, this time of
and
year,
they know a little bit more than we do at that age too.
Yeah. This time of year, you've got the ones that are coming up kind of like their last senior season, or their last summer coming up with, with travel. And then you've got those same ones that you've had that are freshmen now. So you coach, I mean, you get to experience it from both sides, the good with the bad, that, this is the last ride for some of them. And then now it's a whole nother element. And now the other ones are playing college ball. So, that feeling that you have, man, it's something that I know you enjoy. I want to get into the popularity of the sport before we get out of here. You started coaching way back, not that long ago, but I mean, what we think, the better half of 2 decades you've been. You've
Oh
been
yeah.
coaching now, so you've seen the game grow quite a bit. My oldest daughter is 15, and she's been in it now since she was 4 when she started. So I've been in it quite about 10 years or so. And I've seen the popularity of the sport. I've seen the sport grow. And, from your perspective, coaching on a lot of different levels,
Mm-hmm.
the game has grown tremendously. Where does the game go from here? Because it is like a hot stove. I mean, there's something going on every day, it seems like, with softball. Where is the game going from here?
Well, I mean, the media availability with the Watch ESPN app, or just
Right.
going to a school's schedule and see if there's a watch link or whatever. But I mean, so the game's now way more at a person's fingertips than it was 5 years ago, and especially 15 years ago, to
Right.
where you may just see some of the College World Series. Well, so that graduated to where you see all the College World Series ever how long ago, but now you're seeing a Monday night SEC game. You're seeing, I mean, college baseball is the same way. I mean, it's I'm telling you, the pace of the game, the pace of the game in softball is what wins a lot of people over,
Yeah.
because it goes quick, man. When you've got, especially if you have two really good teams or two really good pitchers, and you can see all kind of different games. You can see a 1-0 game, which used to be tons of, it seems like, a decade ago, and 1-0 games today are not as, and I think a lot of that probably has to do with a lot of the equipment. I mean, a
Right.
lot of the bats that people are using, and the balls are really good, and
Yeah.
the pitcher has to be really good to shut a collegiate lineup down, and it's just hard. But obviously, it's not hard for by looking at some of the like top pitchers' stats from a year ago. It wasn't. They didn't make it look too hard, but it
Right.
is. And but I think another thing is kids that come in right out of high school that can immediately. It's a sport that a kid can come in right directly out of high school and contribute on a roster right away. I mean, because if you
Yes.
can play, you can play.
Yeah.
And I think for and I think there's also it brings a lot of kids. A lot of kids don't know how to practice right now, and they're not going to learn until they get there.
Right.
But I just think, like you said, to start the thing, I think that you have softball presents an opportunity for skill level, age level, competition level, or whatever. I just think that there's if you want to play and commit to it, it'll give back to you for sure.
One thing that I, I'll always remember, I always keep in mind, and I don't remember where I read it, but I'll keep the notes of it. And it's, as long as there's different skill levels of a sport, that sport is able to continue to grow. Once you have everyone that's mastered it, that sport falls away. If you look at video games, I don't know if you do pay any attention to that kind of stuff, but when
I
Fortnite,
don't, but I have several people that do. But if you don't, I might not even turn it on, but I have a lot of friends that do for sure.
yeah. Well, when Fortnite came out, that was the craze. Fortnite, everybody played Fortnite. It was like the new crazy game, and it was catching all this media attention and all this stuff. Like Ninja was doing his thing.
Yeah.
Well, if now it's kind of fallen off because everybody had reached its threshold. So that it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't that, it wasn't there were just too many that were really good at it. At softball and different sports, but softball in general for me, and in particular for me, is there's so many different levels where girls can get good, and then they get good and they're like, oh, there's a whole nother level where everybody's is just this good. And then you
And
get
then
a
they've
little
got
bit
to
better
stay
and you
good.
go to the
Then
next
they've got
one.
to maintain it. They've got to maintain it and
Exactly.
sustain it. Which I'm telling you, between the 14s and the 18s, if parents listen, and whoever hears this, the development between 14s and 16s, if they're not there as a first year 14, especially pitchers, and you want to be a pitcher, you got to keep pumping because man, I've seen, to quote unquote, just okay pitchers become real good and look totally different a year after. You can progress quickly, I think, in the sport, and that's why you see so many sleepers. People will say it's because, well, maybe it was the travel team she was on. Well, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the kid maturing physically and how much they put into the game. And if you do that, the right people are going to find you. And but again, I think it's also the game's changing. And I think 3 or 4 years ago, if you went and watched a college softball game or watched high level college softball, it was velo, 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 and they still love the kids that throw it really, really hard. But in a lot of conversations that I have with college coaches, they like to see kids that can move the ball around, work ahead in the count, not walk people, not beat yourself, let your defense play. There's a lot of that goes into it, man, because hitters are so good now. I mean, there's so much that goes into hitting. I mean, they're breaking down it, hitting like the pitchers are pitching. So, I mean, everything you've got on them, they've got on you. So, you got to find your edge somewhere. And I think the pitchers that can move the ball around and understand hitters and understand pitching are the ones that are winning.
Right. I think that's an element to college recruiting when it comes to pitching that a lot of girls aren't paying attention to, coaches and parents as well, and instructors, is college coaches want to see your pitcher go up there and battle before they give them the ball in the circle as a freshman in college. They want to see this kid work through some adversity. They don't want you to go up there and mow everybody down, because if you're up there mowing everybody down, you're not facing high enough competition. And if you continue to mow them down, hey, maybe you're that unicorn. But for the most part, you need to be playing in these tournaments where these are stacked teams and you're facing some competition and where you can hit your spot, the hitter can miss and still put the ball in play. And what do you do at that point? How do you react when you get rattled? Because when there's 5,000-10,000 in the stands and they're screaming and hollering because the game's on the line here, are you crumbling, or can I count on you to tote this ball for me?
Yeah. And that's right. You're right. And I think that, and this is what Coach Danley, it ain't just him. I've asked a lot of good pitchers that I've had in the past, parents, and that's a common denominator amongst a lot of them is, and that's the only thing I'll ever ask anybody. Typically at this age, like if we pick up a player, we'll talk to the kid because the kid's the one pretty much making the decision. Or if they're not, the parent says, well, it's up to so-and-so. So I'll just call so-and-so, or she'll call me or whatever. And so we'll talk and I'll say, well, look, obviously we want you on our team, whatever. However, what would be the main reason? And if the reason includes, well, my dad or my mom or whoever they told me they want me to be in the most uncomfortable situations. They want me to be in uncomfortable situations or something to the line of compete or something like that. That's what I want to hear from a kid.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to play college softball, that's what it is. I promise you the team that you're going to play for has a number 1 and probably a 2. Is that to say you can't be the 1? No, you can be the 1. I promise. They'll make you the 1. Even if they have a 1 or a 2, they'll make you a 1. If you show them you're the 1, I promise you'll be the 1. Because there may be that I've already heard from players that there's buddy ball at all levels or whatever, but I'm hard pressed to win if winning the game is the goal to keep coaches employed, to keep their program in the direction they want it to go. They're going to put the best players out there.
100%. It's their livelihood.
Or whatever in their mind are their best players. Because I think that changes too, man. We're not out there and seeing their practices. So they're with those kids every single day that, sometimes probably when they don't want to be. And it's a situation where they know that they might have saw something in practice or whatever they didn't like. And that might be why they're not starting.
Yeah.
But more times than not, the best players are going to be on the field, I would imagine.
Yeah. Or they're seeing something and they better hope it works, or they're going to be like, all right, well, this ain't it. You're out of here, buddy.
Because the first weekend in college softball won't get past me, and I don't do a bunch of texting or talking, but I'll bet you wherever you want to eat at when we see each other, that I guarantee before the first weekend of college softball is over, I'll have a text on my phone saying, well, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. It'll be something negative. And it's like, you've got to rid yourself of that mindset, because you're driving back home and your kid's staying at school and now goes to class tomorrow or whatever. Like it can't be a roller coaster in college, I don't think, emotionally, for a kid to have success. Not a student athlete.
Yeah.
They got to find some stabilization with schedule, how they go about their business, the extra time, what are they doing with it? And they got to prioritize, man. It makes you grow up quick, for sure. The ones that are successful.
I think you're exactly right. There can't be that roller coaster mentality, because at some point that thing is going to drop to the bottom. Who knows what happens then? That's why I tell all my athletes, man, our confidence has got to come from our prep work. It doesn't matter if we go 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, we walk 4 or we strike out 15. It doesn't matter. Our confidence needs to come from the prep work we've done, all the hard work we've put in, the hours.
Trust the work, baby. You got to trust the work.
Exactly. That's the way it comes to. All right, we're up against it now for this episode, man. I'm going to have you back on for a part 2 here pretty soon. We'll get this out to the fan base really, really soon. I want to get into softball recruiting with you, talk about building a personal brand, and talk about what it means to be a part of Tennessee Mojo and what Mojo does to help these athletes get into the best situation, so they're not sitting in the transfer portal or they're not thinking about transferring. We get them in the right spot and they make the best decision possible. And what you do as a coach to kind of help them with that. So we'll get into that a little bit later, man. But I want to thank you for coming on. It was a lot of fun having a good conversation with you. We're going to do this again in the future and multiple times. We're also going to have you on the live show here pretty soon. That should be kicking off the early part of February. So looking forward to it, man. Thank you for joining me.
I'll let you know on episode 2 if any parents called me and gave me a hard time saying I was trying to call parents out here on my first night. No, I really wasn't, but because it takes the parents to make it go. But I do, like I was telling you on the email, I appreciate you growing the game, especially in the state of South Carolina. And I'll be happy to be on anytime, bud.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Big shout out to Tennessee Mojo and Coach Josh Fisher. Man, it was great to catch up with him and just share some experiences with him and get his opinion on things. Such a good dude. Poured, the better half of 2 decades into the sport and into his athletes and families and stuff. So, man, big time shout out to Josh. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this type of content, you like this podcast, man, please share it with a friend. And when you do, you tell him you love him.
When you buy Kroger brand products, you feel like you're winning. That's because they offer proven quality at lower than low prices. In fact, we guarantee that you and your family will love how Kroger brand products taste, or you get your money back. So next time you're shopping for the family, look for delicious Kroger brand products, because they'll make you all feel like you're winning. Shop now, in-store, or online. Bakers, fresh for everyone.
Baker's always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices. And when you download the Baker's app, you can enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. Plus, you can earn fuel points to save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. So it's easy to save big. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Fuel restrictions apply.
We've locked in low prices to help you save big store-wide. Look for the locked-in low prices tags and enjoy extra savings throughout the store. Baker's, fresh for everyone.